We've had more than a few things happen since we last talked on Monday. I know we put a video out yesterday for the people, but I've even gathered more thoughts since then about the Matt Patricia hiring. He is now the defensive coordinator for the Buckeyes. Tim Walton is technically a co-DC with him, but the Buckeyes went outside and found someone who used to work in the NFL to help run the defense. I know you're feeling pretty good about the hire initially. Have your thoughts changed at all since we last, had our video?
No, I'm still in a wait or see mode. I believe that in terms of just football, I like the hire. I know some people like you are a little bit slower to like it, I understand it. It's not a foreign thought process to be a little against it right now. But at the same time, in terms of his football, I look at the guy's past, I look at where he's been. If he had any other name, I think that it would look a little bit different. I think people would be a little bit more on board. I think anytime you get a guy that has 3 championship Super Bowls under his wing and on his fingers, I think you should be happy about it. He is someone who has touched the pinnacle. That the Super Bowl is the pinnacle of this sport, bar none. And he's been a part of it. Now, depending on how much success, how much credit to the success you want to give him, that's to each their own. But as of right now, I'm in a wait or see mode. But until then, I'm happy with the hire. I think it's a successful hire. I think we hired someone that has accomplished 99.9% better than anyone else in college football has done. I'm good with it.
Yeah, and even since we had last spoken, I think I still have all of the same thoughts I did before, even with that video. I still don't like the hire. Even digging more back into what was happening with the defenses that he coordinated, the final, I know I talked about that final year, in 2017, they were the 4th worst defense in terms of yards per game in that year. Now, every other year, he did have some pretty good defenses. They were, in the top 10, maybe one was in the top 5 as well. But then things changed once he became a head coach with Detroit. And I know you mentioned we're not asking him to be the head coach, which is true. We don't want him leading the program, thank God. But I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more success with that team, and especially on the defense. With him being a defensive, he was hired as a defensive mind. I wish I would have seen the Lions not be truly terrible. And I would have liked to have seen his tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles end up a little bit better. He coordinated the last 4 games with the Philadelphia Eagles during his stint with them in 2023. And I believe they, that was the stretch that almost got Nick Sirianni fired because of how poorly the defense was playing. So, again, and you've mentioned this about trusting Ryan Day, coming off the national championship and trusting in what he wants to do with this program. At this point, that's really all you can do is trust him and hope that the hire works out, even though I am still not a fan.
What do you, from now till the season starts, what do you need to see to be happy?
I need to see.
Or not happy, but comfortable. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, nothing between now and the season would make me happy. He couldn't do anything between now and before the season. To make me comfortable, I want to see how he utilizes certain players. I know we had talked about how they were more than likely going to move CJ Hicks to the edge. I want to see if that's still something that they're looking to do because he does seem to be more effective on the edge as he is just a standard linebacker. I want to see how they use the defensive back. So, even though they lose Hancock and Burke, they've still got Igbinosun and Jermaine Matthews back there. And they've still got, Aaron Scott, Devin Sanchez coming in. We mentioned all those guys before. So I want to know how guys are going to be used. That's really what I want to see. And I don't know if that's even going to make me necessarily comfortable. I guess we'll see if with the spring. It's not a spring
Right.
anymore. Spring contest. I want to see how those guys perform against an offense that will have a brand new starting quarterback with it, and really shouldn't take them to task. So if that offense does take them to task, I'll be worried.
Would you have been more comfortable with a hire like Garrison? And if so, why?
I think yes. And the reason being because they think he's really like him as a defensive mind. I think he's a rising star. He's been with Jim Knowles, for at least a year now. He's coordinated defenses in the past in college.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done it way more recently than Patricia has. The last time Patricia was a full-time coordinator was way back in 2017, like I mentioned. And you know what? If they're gonna just Ryan Day could sell me on just having a full young cast of coordinators and coaches around him, be like, hey, we're gonna internally build this thing, and we're gonna keep going off the momentum that we have for the national championship, and we're all on the same quote unquote timeline. So I could buy that. Now, again, we've talked about this before. Would I be enthused about having a first-time offensive coordinator and a first-time?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that.
Look, he wouldn't be a first-time defensive coordinator. He coordinated, with IU and I think James Madison as well, or Duke. I'm sorry, it was Duke. So, he's done it before, but that wouldn't exactly give me all the warm and fuzzies either. So, I just wish they would have gotten almost any other hire.
I don't know, man. I truly believe you're a little bit too down on this hire. I understand that. I understand that his success was a while ago. I understand that we've talked about everything else about the guy under the sun, but in terms of football, in terms of what what he brings to the table, the guy has 2 decades of football coaching experience now. I just don't know what other position. If you told me we had a chance to either bring him on or give Gary or Coach Walt the position, I would tell you, give him the position. I'm just not.
Well,
I don't want to sit here and act like the guy doesn't have a wonderful football brain. He's been around the best. He's coached for the best.
My question is, if he's such a good defensive mind, why did he have to coordinate the Patriots offense and then become an offensive line coach?
Probably because when he came back that season, there he had someone that was locked in for DC.
Okay, but again, if he's such a great defensive mind, why not put him as a coach? At least have him coach some sort of defensive position. Defensive line, do something.
Well, my honest response to you on that is that in the NFL, they are more likely to hire you with offensive background than a defensive background as a coordinator. So probably Bill's trying to give him a chance to do so.
Maybe. Since the video yesterday,
Bill could have hired anybody else. There's a lot of people Bill could have hired before those Super Bowls. He hired him, and if it was anyone else that was in that position, we would give that guy full credit. I think it's easy to pile on to him and say, "Oh, he's under Bill Belichick," or "Oh, he's unlikable," or this, that, or the third. It's just easy to do that because of the name and because of his name and what's been put out in the media for the last 5-10 years, let's say. All that's been put out. At the end of the day, Bill Belichick is someone he thought he should have on his roster, or on his staff. Depending on whatever job position it was, he said, "No, I need that guy, or I want that guy on my staff." And again, for whether it be the Lions, whether it be the Eagles, or anyone like that, if they are willing to continue to keep this man around or keep him around the NFL circles, there's a reason why.
And that's where my final concern comes in. he wasn't kept around NFL circles last year. He was not
That's
working.
1 year.
No
That's
one,
1
okay,
year.
but so then that makes you all of a sudden qualified to be the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. Like you're like he's completely out of college. Like he's not just out of the NFL. He's out of football. Period. And it wasn't his choice. It's not like, hey, I'm going to take a step back, hang with the family, stuff like that. Like he was actively trying to get jobs, and no one would give him one.
How many jobs do you think Urban Meyer could get right now?
In college, he could have a head coaching job at college pretty quickly. No, maybe not to the one.
That's my point. Like, who cares how long they've been away? The guy, we can't listen. We can't sit here and act like there's one thing I'm not okay with doing, and I don't want to poo-poo on guys that have reached the pinnacle, guys that have done things in their careers that other men in football, or men and women, whatever, wish they could accomplish. There are a lot of people who are going to go to their grave and they're never going to accomplish what he did as a defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots.
Here is, and I know you've talked about that, and I know I've also mentioned, Belichick was in control a large amount of those defensive years. Like he was the guy who was calling the defenses, putting the game plans together and everything like that. Now, Patricia definitely deserves some credit. Like let's make that clear. It wasn't just Belichick doing absolutely everything. But, I'd be remiss to say that it wasn't mostly Belichick with the defense. And the fact that Belichick doesn't exactly have a long list of his assistants and coordinators don't exactly have a long list of success going other places. The Belichick coaching tree doesn't have a lot of success, despite how vast and how lengthy it is. I'm trying to. I guess you could argue Josh McDaniels is probably the most successful one, and it wasn't as a head coach. It was as being an offensive coordinator again for those Patriots teams, and then he came back and coordinated again, and led them to another Super Bowl. So but as far as like head coaches go, there isn't one, which is fine because we're not looking for a head coach. But I think I'm kind of just at this point just regurgitating the same stuff. Where we'll see what happens in the fall. We'll see what happens when they've actually got the personnel figured out. And I think part of the reason why they promoted Tim Walton to a co-DC is to have him be the recruiter. Because, we both talked about, I don't think Patricia's going to be recruiting is not going to be his strength. So